Queens all the way out to Montauk. This is Long Island. You know, you got Queens, you got Brooklyn, and you go all the way out to the east end of Long Island. This is Long Island Changemakers. I am Tommy D, the one and only, the nonprofit sector connector, here with another Long Island Changemaker. And you know, I talk a lot about being the nonprofit sector connector, and if it wasn't for my friends making relationships and connections for me, well, I wouldn't have all the people I know in my life. And shout out to my very good friend, Vicky Elner, for making an introduction to Roel, who really is a thought leader when it comes to aging here on Long Island. I know I've heard you say you want us to have the second half of our life be even better than the first half. Right. I think you've said you want to make better mistakes, you want to encourage people to make better mistakes, right. Which I also heard you say, you know, if we're not making mistakes, we're not living. And I've heard that just recently from other people, because I talk a lot about getting outside of our comfort zone. I say our life begins outside of our comfort zone, you know. I say the rest is just waiting, you know, so you gotta get uncomfortable, you gotta try some stuff out, and you gotta scrape some knees. You gotta get knocked around a little bit, and this life can knock you around, but you gotta take chances. So is that what you're talking about?
It is what I'm talking about, you know, as you age successfully, which is my goal, you know, there are opportunities, and there are challenges.
Sure.
You know, but my goal really is to work with a lot of other people and collaborate and change the framework of how we view aging.
Change the framework of how we view aging.
So that's part of the change making.
Yeah.
So, you know, we do say, oh, getting older sucks, you know. Some of it does. Yeah. And so we need to be realistic, no rose-colored glasses. But if we're a little prepared, we do some planning in certain areas, you can live you can, as my tagline for my 45 Forward podcast is, you can make the second half of life even better than the first.
I believe that too, man, because I think, like, now I know some stuff. Yeah. Right? And, like, I can, like, you know, although I know it at 47, you know, I'm 45 Forward, like your podcast. Yeah. Shout out on the podcast. I want to hear about it. We're going to talk about it. You know, as much as I know, nobody really cares, like, how I look or how I'm dressed. Right. I still think about it sometimes, right? Yeah. Because my children, they get concerned. What is somebody going to say about these white cons with these black leggings, my two daughters might say? And I go, they're so busy worried about their own stuff, man. They don't really care. Like, you know, you're a 12-year-old little girl going in with 75 other 12-year-old girls who are self-absorbed and thinking or worried about what you think about them. They don't have time to really think about your shoes. But, like, I think that's kind of the fun thing about being older. Like, whatever, man, I'm going to do me. And that's how, you know, do you think that's the thing you see with, like, older folks where
I do.
A lot less to be concerned with? Yeah.
I mean, so your first half of life deals with pretty much of a script, right? I mean, you go to school, then you go to college, then you get a first job, second job, then you meet someone, you get married, or maybe not, raise your kids, then you go through your career, and then it's just like, okay, now what? Yeah. Now you got to do the script, and people, you know, so you need to think about it, and if you plan a little bit ahead. I mean, one of my slogans is, plan, don't predict. You never know.
Don't predict.
But if you have some sort of a plan to work with, your plan will change. But at least you're thinking about it. And I do, you know, when you do talk to older people, you're exactly right. People say, like, wait a minute, what do I want to do? Yeah. You know, I've spent my life trying to please everyone and do what I thought I should do. Yeah. And now it's like, yeah, but now what do I want to do? Do
you find that more with women in your work, or only from the, you know, the caregiver, they take, again, traditionally, right? I mean, I'm not, like, saying that's the only way this works. I put in 2 loads of laundry myself today. I'm a big boy, Ron, all right? So don't imply that I don't know. But like you were implying that. I wonder, because the moms, I think, they put so much into raising the kids, and in my experience, in women in my life, they put things on hold for themselves, whereas maybe as men, we're able to just go do things, go build businesses and whatnot. I'm not, again, it's not 100% either way, but I'm just curious if you see that.
Well, what I see is that, you know, that there are certain cultural or sociological differences, okay? And that is that women, yes, women are traditionally more the caregivers, caretakers. They take care of the family, and they have networks of other women. Sure. So when they get to midlife and beyond, in some cases, they're better prepared, right? Because that's what you need. Because if you leave, when you leave work, and a lot of women are working, they still have networks and they have things that they're thinking about doing. the men, I think, are concerned about it. I think, like, but that is one of the initial issues of retirement, right?
Yeah.
Men retire is like,
dude,
no.
I'm gonna tell you, I know what you're saying about people retiring and then their life is over. Like, what do I do? Dude, I do so many cool things that have nothing, that don't generate revenue for me, which you would say, like, one day if I don't have to do that thing to generate revenue, I got all these other cool things I'm involved with. That, I think, I may be unique in a lot of ways, personally, but I know plenty of friends who go out and play sports on the weekend and play pickup games and stuff like that. But I would be volunteering. I'd be so more involved with different nonprofit organizations. I'd get some side hustle just for fun. You see that, but not as many men.
Well, no, I think they're starting to do that more. I think when they start seeing, as there's a cultural shift, I think that more women are working, so you don't have this, segmented, like,
right,
man goes to
labor
work,
distribution as much, right? Yeah.
So I think that they're more involved with their kids. I mean, just an anecdotal observation. When I go to the supermarket or I go shopping and stuff, I see a lot more men that I don't remember as a kid seeing.
What time of day are you going though?
In the middle of the day.
Middle of the day. Yeah. And you think, you look around and they're retired? Or you think maybe they're working?
Well, I guess in the middle of the day, it's like on the weekends. I mean, it's not just men go and take their kids to soccer.
I can't tell you how many times I hit Holiday Farms on a Saturday. Like, got to be 5 or 6 times. Could you go? Could you run? Could you? I live in that store sometimes, so I know that on the weekends for sure.
Yeah. So I think that men are sort of getting like, I think I better be a little prepared for a different kind of a life.
Yeah.
And also, look, the divorce rate's still like 50% almost. And so you got to think about life could change. Hopefully not negative, but it happens. Yeah. So I think you do have to be prepared. And plus, we're living longer.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, wait a minute. Okay, I'm thinking about retiring when I'm in my 50s. I got 20, 30 more years, maybe 40, maybe 50. I mean, how many?
That's what's funny for me. Like, some of these people, some guys I know, I have friends who are cops and firemen, and these guys could be done in their late 40s.
Right.
And I don't begrudge them. If you've done that and these jobs are risky and you want to retire, that's great. But what are you going to do for the next 40 years? So I feel like you have to find something else. You have to find some kind of interest. If you're not raising children or whatever, it's so much. But isn't that fun? There's so much in life to play with and to do.
Yeah,
like, that's great. Do you play pickleball?
I don't, but
people love it.
Yeah, they do.
People love it. I don't know why that popped into my head, but I know people are digging it.
Yeah, people are like, where did this come from? Well, but it came because people like it.
Yes, it's fun to play.
So this is the thing about life. There's certain things that are just unpredictable. No one could predict it. I mean, even the internet. When the internet was first created, it was sort of like, oh, well, this, a bunch of academics got together and said, well, this would be good to share information among universities.
Yeah. Did you ever see? There's this funny video. I'll send it to you later on. It's like Good Morning America or the Today Show, and it's like 1994, 95, something like that. Maybe 93. I might have my dates off. And they're like, they're talking about like an email address, and it's like, I don't know what channel it was. It's the Today Show. Maybe it's Channel 4, CBS. No, that's 2, NBC. And it's like these hosts, and they're like, yeah, well, it's like, it's John Smith @ CBS.com or whatever, and they're like explaining. They're like, what is it? Then they're telling. It's cool. Again, it's a trip because like we're of the era of we know when there wasn't, and then we know when there was.
Right.
I remember AOL. I always joke about this. I remember AOL and the little man running across the screen.
Right.
Right. Like, was it? Hang up the phone. I'm trying to get on the internet, man. Like, and it like, and now it's ubiquitous.
Yeah.
And everything. How do they say, the Internet of Things?
That's right.
Right, like my TV, right, my refrigerator, like all these things are somehow connected. So it's strange. So you talk about that. Were you talking about that from a reflection of just evolution? Like that was a bunch of folks talking about it, academically, and then all of a sudden it's everywhere?
Yeah. Well, I think certain things happen we don't predict. I mean, so I remember that people were talking about computers. The first IBM computers like fit in a room,
the
whole room.
Sure.
And now there's more processing power in your phone.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, it's crazy.
Computers. So yeah, I mean, I think that there are certain innovations. I mean, Apple with their laptops, that was their personal computers. People had no idea about personal computers, and what they would become. And now, this is your personal computer.
It's wild. You know what it's do, man? It was supposed to make things like more efficient, right? I get a kick out of that. Like, I've been in sales my whole life, and we use CRM or customer relationship management systems, also keeping track of things. And I think that's important for a customer situation, but on the sales side of things, we often use those programs to maintain data and do outreach and different things. I spoke to Ron last week. He's got 27 employees. He wants to talk about Oxford benefits, whatever. And I can't get through my email inbox anymore.
Right.
I go, you and I are becoming friends. I'm going to go, Ron, just text me, man. Just text me, dude, because I can't. And especially like, we're out doing things. I'm at events. It's like, I personally do not have my email on my phone. It's a decision I made. Yeah, it's a decision.
Yeah.
My laptop is in the other room here, and I checked email before we sat down, and I'll go back there in an hour or so and just look at a couple things. But if it's on my phone, I never get away from it. Now, I never get away from YouTube, right? Because I'm always trying to learn and that stuff. But the email would be, I'd be sucked in all the time. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, my thoughts are everything has a specific purpose, a usefulness to it. So for a lot of quick interactions, just use a text.
Yeah.
Okay. But don't use a text like an email. In other words, sometimes I get these huge texts. I'm like, don't do that.
Yeah.
And so I work in tandem. I say, listen, I'm going to send you a text. Tommy, I'm just alerting you, I'm going to send you an email.
Yeah.
Send you some
That's great. For somebody like me, that's super. But you know what? I almost feel like if I ask you to do that, now you offered that in this scenario, but I think people would be like, who are you, bro? But I'd be like, I'm telling you, I'm a guy who's like waving the white flag at that inbox and Outlook going, I'm trying.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting. That's a great way to help manage each other and keep each other accountable and saying, dude, I need you to look at this thing.
Right.
Thank you, Ron, for reminding me to look at that. It helps because if we want to move the ball down the field, we have to look out for each other like that.
Yeah, and there are a lot of platforms. It's wonderful that there's a proliferation of platforms and avenues. But then it makes it. Then you need to do some work, and that is, I say to them, hey, listen, Tommy, how do you prefer for me to communicate with you? And so some people, this wasn't that long ago, we would send people and you'd give them a voicemail. But now people they don't listen to their voicemails.
Everybody's voicemail box is full. I gotta get, now look, I don't think that's gonna work. If I had, first of all, none of my clients have my desk phone number because it's kind of irrelevant. Correct. So my business card doesn't have that number on there. It's my cell phone.
Right.
But when I call I'll say, I hate this word, but I'll say it, vendor of mine or a solution provider, and their voicemail is full, that's kind of cranky. It gets me a little cranky, because then and I would think if my clients would feel the same way if my mailbox was full on my cell phone, which is the only number I'm giving out anyway, right?
Right. Yeah.
Then I think they could be cranky like that.
Right. Yeah. I do clean up my voicemail. I mean, it's only like 20 messages, then it starts to fill up.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question since we're talking about this. So I have this really cute voicemail that one of my daughters left as my outgoing message, right? She and we were like cruising down to the Jersey Shore, and I don't know what happened, but she decided she was going to leave a new outgoing message on my voicemail. Man, it's cute, right? And I've gone back and forth about changing it and doing, hey, you've reached Tommy DeMisa, leave me a voicemail, make it a great day, the whole thing. And I haven't changed it. It's been like a year. And I'm getting incredible feedback. And this is like this wasn't like a thumbs up on Facebook or you liked it on LinkedIn, but people like prospective clients, business partners that I work with are like leaving a message going, that's the coolest thing I haven't heard. You just made my day. Like literally, these are the voicemails I'm getting. And I'm not a guy who is all about the airs and stuff like that and trying to, but I do get concerned sometimes, like if somebody calls and they think it's unprofessional, but the majority of folks, my friend who's a partner at a law firm, major Long Island law firm, I was with him the other night, he's like, he goes, don't you dare change that. He goes, it brightens up people's days.
Yeah.
And so what are your thoughts on something like that?
No, I think I don't have a,
You should listen to it later on.
Yeah,
We should. It's her. Part of it is you've reached Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, and she starts singing the theme song to my show. Say, nonprofits need connections to move in right directions, and then it's like, and she's like, all right, leave a message. It's just like that.
No, but I think, Tommy, I think I don't have one like that, but I think it's great because I think, what it does is it points out how much people are going through, how much stress they're going, and so it's a real reliever. Like, oh, that's nice.
People say it, and you hear their smile in their voice when they leave a message. Thank you, Tommy D, for like it made my day. I'm like, oh my God, that's so great. Yeah.
I mean, this is a tangent, but
that's where I live. I only live in tangents. So welcome to my life.
Okay. Welcome to Tangent USA. Yeah.
Yes.
So now we have a really cute golden retriever puppy.
Okay.
She's 2 years old. Okay.
What's the dog's name?
Ruby.
Okay.
Okay. So, but she's a dog now. But so I take her. I go out, get up. It's cold. It's 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
I live about an eighth of a mile from the train station.
Okay.
So she loves people. I take her to the
she wants to see everybody in the morning?
Yeah. We go on the platform, and she's like...
You go up on the platform, just kind of hang around? Look at that,
she
that's
goes
funny.
on the platform, and she just meets everybody. And at first I was like, all right, I don't want to get into people,
Yeah.
But
you must brighten their mornings, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's like that voicemail.
I believe that. Yeah.
It's like they're like...
Well, you answered my question. The voicemail
and
stays.
they say, like, you just made my day.
They say that?
Yeah.
Oh, my God, man, that's so cool.
They don't remember me, but they remember the dog.
They don't care about you. They care about Ruby. But, like, I kid. But that's the thing. That's, you know what? I'll tell you a story. Like, this happened a long time ago, and I've told it when in the studio here. It's one time I was having a really bad day, and I used to go to school in the city. I used to go to Baruch. And I was having, like, it was pretty low. And this little girl just kind of looked at me and smiled, and I smiled back, and that was it. That was the interaction. But it changed the trajectory of my day. You don't know what you're doing. We don't know how we're impacting people.
Right.
You don't know where someone's day was going, especially running to the train, running to the platform. It's cold out. Most people are usually running behind, right?
Yeah.
Who knows what interaction they had? Maybe they were just trying to get their 4 kids off to school. I know exactly what that's like.
Yeah.
I do a lot of challenging things. That's the most challenging. Heck of a way to begin your day some days. But you and Ruby come for that visit to that platform could just change their whole world, man.
Yeah. It in a very broad way, it's connected for me for like my caregiving now.
Yeah.
You're caring for people. So what are we doing here? We're basically acknowledging, you know what, we're all part of this community. We go in different directions, but we're part of this community. And people feel, this is what I think a lot of the, current day agita is about. People feel disconnected. They want a sense of belonging. They want to be part of a community. And this, as you said, it's a very, in some ways, quick, seemingly superficial, but it's meaningful.
The dog.
You're connecting with them, and
on
you're sharing
level.
the dog with them.
It's great.
They appreciate it, and they get on and and the dog does, that's what. Goldens, they
She's
love
just
people.
digging the fact that she gets to see all these more people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
It's so funny because, she'll come up and then she'll jump in. I said, don't jump in. But then she'll sit next to them.
Oh, wow. That's so great. That's so cool. I want to know about 45 Forward. I want to know about this podcast. Like, what are you trying to accomplish with that? Because I am now forward of 45.
Yeah.
A couple of years forward of it. Yeah.
So Tommy, it covers lots of different areas. Some of them very pragmatic. So I'll have maybe an elder law attorney on and talk about, how do you plan, your estate? How do you think about planning for long-term care? But then I have people who come on who do just have fascinating lives.
Yeah.
And so it's like I want to talk about what you do and what your mission is, and then I want to talk about you.
Yeah.
So I start off most shows by saying, hey, Tommy, how did you get to where you are? You didn't start here.
Right.
So, and I said, well, I find that fascinating. And I want people to just have role models of how you can progress in life. Going back to our first statement about you make mistakes, but you learn, you grow. So that's another thing. I feel like you got to give people an opportunity to grow every part of life. Even when you're older, you're still growing.
Here's what I want to ask you. Why do we stop playing, man? Like, I dig playing, man, and I lost that kind of stuff in my life for a while, but I'm not anymore. I love it. I just go like, because like, you could be fun and playful, and when I say this word, I don't mean the way from a romantic, but flirtatious, just having a good old time. you know, I just happened to go to a Kiwanis, and I went to a meeting the other night. It turned out to be the North Shore Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and the Kiwanis up by me. And these older ladies, I got a kick out of them. This one woman that sat next to me, she was trouble. I knew from the beginning I got there, and I just started, we had this banter.
Right.
And she was just giving me the business. And she had to be, you know, 80, 85 years old. And I go, you're trouble for me. And we're just like giving each other, kind of putting the screws to each other while we're having dinner together, having fun. That's what we're supposed to be doing, man, just all the time, playing. What do you think about that?
I think it's essential. And I think, you know, I do think that is one thing that happens as, you know, if you're maintain your health in some way, so you're not really miserable. But as you get older, I think people might not say I'm more playful, but that's what they mean.
They might not, I'm using that word, but they say other things.
Yeah, they might not use the word play, but that is what's happening. They start realizing, and this is what comes from experience, right? They realize, like, what do I got to lose? Just be myself.
And that's it. It's like, let's just banter. Let's have shtick. Let's have fun.
Exactly.
That's what
so I do think that as people, you know, they do talk about, you know, psychologically as we get older, you know, people in their 20s are often the most unhappy. They're going through a lot of things. Now, as you get, you know, in your 50s, you're also struggling. You know, like, what next? You still have a lot of family stresses. But as people go into their 70s, they get happier.
Coasting, maybe,
They're just like, well, they're just realize, okay, in some ways, okay, I got less time. But I'm going to make use of this time.
Well,
be me in this time.
And that's, and that's like, that's a great life lesson right there. Like, don't wait till you're in your 70s. Like, just be you, just be authentic, be genuine, you know. And it's funny, it just happened to me this morning. On Friday mornings, I do my show, Philanthropy in Focus, where I interview executive directors of nonprofits. And I'm like this big time, I say that as a joke, big time host of this show. I've done 205 episodes, right? And my guest had to tell me, Tommy, you're on mute. Live, streaming on 6 different things, right? All these people, and I go, and I go, and whatever, I'm quick. So whatever I said, it was just, I riffed with it. I go, yeah, you know, life moves fast. Sometimes you might be hosting a big show that maybe 20,000 people are listening to, and you're on mute, and that's just it. So you just got, like, that is, I think, just having that laugh at yourself. That's the playfulness too. Like, don't take yourself too serious. Like, I joke, like, there's the Tommy D, right? Like me, the person, your friend, we'll have a cup of coffee together. And then there's like this caricature guy, right? So like, I love the caricature. I think he's a pisser. He's a lot of fun and stuff like that. But he's not like the you know. So it's to me, it's just a way that's playful too. Because I go, I love Tommy D. Tommy D does this, and it's kind of the bananas of the whole thing. Like, it's zany, you know.
And you could do like serious play. You know what I'm saying? It's not that you have a sense of purpose. So one of the things I wanted to mention is that, you know, you're involved with all these nonprofits.
I am.
And for me, you know, involved in, you know, what I do with successful aging.
Tell me about successful aging.
Well, one of the things is that it requires a lot of different components. Some of them are institutional, some are personal, and so I don't belittle, you know, getting help from institutions and being still attached. What I find interesting is that, you know, that people are looking at right now, especially like government, business. No problem. What are they missing? Nonprofits. For me, that's a missing link. You know, that solving our problems is a three-legged stool: business, government, and nonprofits. But the nonprofit stuff, the work that you're working on, in some ways, it should be the first go-to, because nonprofits can do things that the others can't do. In some ways, you're more nimble, you can work quicker, you can be more efficient in certain ways, and you can be more creative. And a lot of the problems we have in our society, you know, you need a multiple approach to solving them. And that's what nonprofits can do. So I really applaud what you're doing.
Well, that's really, and I've not always been good at taking the gratitude. So I say thank you for that, and thank you for acknowledging it. How have you collaborated with nonprofits over the years, or how would you want to?
Well, in other words, there are lots of agencies that I want to, you know, businesses and agencies that I want to basically say, listen, I can come in and talk to your employees, you know, your staff, about how, you know, because family caregiving is something that you do outside, but it involves, you know, people at work.
Well, we're talking about the sandwich generation now,
Right.
Right? We're talking about people who are, I mean, I'm 47, right? But I have friends who are in their 70s who are still in the kid raising. Now they're probably raising their grandkids, and they have elderly parents in their 90s, right? So how long does the sandwich generation last? 40 years or the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Right? Either you're a caregiver or you're being cared for, right?
That's right. And sometimes I'd say, like, now we got club sandwiches.
Club sandwiches. I like that. You know, the Dagwood. I remember growing up in delis and stuff like that, right? So I would always work in like delis when I was a kid, and there was always the Dagwood from that the whole comic strip. They would say, "This is the Dagwood," and be ridiculous.
Of course, most of the people
they don't know what they don't know what I'm talking about. They don't even know what we're talking about. But I find more and more things that I say less people know what I'm talking about, and that means I'm getting older, I guess.
It is, but you know, things come back. So I was listening to on the radio coming in here, you know, that you know, they said like Blockbuster, done, right?
Yeah.
Not so fast.
What do you mean?
There's a guy, you know, I forget where state. He's not called Blockbuster, but he's starting a store with all of these
he's going to rent
DVDs.
Oh, he's going to really?
You know, and because he says like, all right,
people would appreciate that. Be Kind, Rewind. Remember that one?
Yeah,
we know that one.
Yeah, right. But now he's finding that people just like the collectors, but they just like vinyl records. Some people
Sure,
like,
it's a throwback. It's fun. It's nostalgic. It's tactile. I can touch a DVD and put it in the machine. I want to get to some things before we run out of time. Okay. I want to know about, you know, the book here, Caregiving Navigator, and what your business is. Who you're looking to meet with. We started to talk about nonprofits, but what is it that you want to collaborate?
Well, what I'm looking to do is to collaborate with groups. It could be nonprofit groups. It can be the Kiwanis. It could be, you know, it could be companies that and working with their human resources. You know, going to the inn and saying, listen, I could come in with 2 or 3 people, an elder law attorney, a social worker, and we can talk about what your employees can't really tell you about caring for their parents while they're at work.
So it really relates to what we do at Vanguard Benefits as an employee benefits business. I mean, this could be, it's germane to that conversation because productivity is down. If I'm worried about where my mom or dad is going to go, or my father-in-law's got to go, I'm distracted.
Right.
I'm not productive. So you can come in and sort of help navigate that stuff.
That's right. That's right.
That's great.
And then, you know, with my podcast, it's really just, for me, kind of just a service. For me, a service to humanity. You know, like getting people up there and just giving information and stories and inspiration.
How do they check out the podcast? How do people listen to that?
So they can go on to Bold Brave Media, boldbravetv.com. And so it's a website, and you can click on, my program is, you can listen to it live every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay, but
at
then
Bold Brave Media.
Yeah, Bold Brave TV is the, you know.
Got it.
That Bold Brave Media is the parent, but Bold Brave TV.
Okay.
And then, you know, if you miss the Wednesday night, you can go on and you can find Bold Brave TV and go to my playlist, and then there's an archive of all my shows.
Got it. Yeah. I love that. You know, I mean, the barrier to entry it is so low, and there's so much value in putting content out there, not just for ourselves, but because it educates so many other people. We're going to run out of time, so how do people get in touch with you?
Simple.
Yeah.
Just email me.
Okay.
ron.roel, R-O-E-L, @gmail.com.
ron.roel@gmail.com. That is pretty easy.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming here. We got so much more to talk about. We give them bite-sized pieces on this show. It's like a little snack-sized Snickers, which I don't know about you, but if I get a bag of snack size, I eat the whole freaking bag anyway. But that's my problem, not yours. I'm glad you were here, man. This is great. Show them the book real quick before you go.
Great. Here we go.
Look at that book.
Well, there we go.
There it is.
There it is.
Very cool. Very cool. Thanks for being here, Ron. Everybody, this is Long Island Changemakers. I am hanging out with people who are doing just that, making change, making the world a better place, certainly for our communities, whether it be connecting in the for-profit sector, the nonprofit sector, as my friend Ron talks about, government, business, and nonprofit. 3 legs of a stool. We'll talk more about that going forward. I appreciate you all checking in. Let me know if I can help in any way. This has been another In Focus production. Thanks.